All right, so we are back here, Couch Coaches. This is we brought back Overreaction Monday. So this is season 2, episode 1. Got my good friend, my boy Jeff from the Jeff Needs Sports Podcast.
What's up, everyone?
What's going on? My fellow Off the Ball Network colleague here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So Overreaction Monday. First week of the NFL season. It's a victory Monday for me. Unfortunately for your Miami Dolphins, it was not a victorious Monday.
Ish. We'll take ish at this point, man.
Yeah. So the first thing I want to talk about tonight is, of course, obviously your Dolphins. Jeff, just your thoughts on the game and just your thoughts.
Well, it was better than last year's opening game. I believe last year was 59-0, and we gave up about 600 yards to Action Jackson to start his MVP campaign. No, man, honestly, that game boiled down to a couple things for me. The roster looked a little better. It looked like we'd filled a couple gaps. Some of the defensive players were more. I mean, we've been playing with the JV team for a couple years. Obviously, we know Fitzpatrick's not the quarterback of the future. He's just out there doing, he's just keeping the seat warm at this point. I mean, that's official. But then something else I would say is that's a tough place to be against Cam Newton going to New England for his first game, because nobody has any tape, has any idea what kind of offense they were going to run with him. And when an athlete like that comes out and they decide to attack you like they did with basically the single wing, that's a tough. There's no reads. I mean, their linebackers, there's no keys to read on. The receivers, you don't know what they're going to do. That was a tough position for any team to be in yesterday. So I hate to say that only losing by 10 wasn't that bad, but in all honesty, like it could have been bad. But they're not quite up. They're just not up to the athletic ability of a NFL playoff team at this point. But no, I wasn't super upset. I wasn't super upset.
Yeah, and I think it's one of the things you look at. It's a silver lining type of game where it's like, you know what? Yep. Now, you guys play them again. You have some film on them. You kind of, you'll be able to prepare for them, because now we didn't think because I think in one case had like 7 O linemen on one side, and and I'm like, yikes, like it's crazy. Like and he had them, kind of away from him. So I was like, that's another thing where it's like, you how can you plan for that, something that you've never seen before? Where
nobody had any idea. And I think that was one, in my opinion, and I think it was the right thing for Belichick to do, that he was like, I'm going to win a game. Like, let's win this first game. I don't think that's what the offense is going to look like all year, but he was like, we can win this first game. Cam's healthy. He's having fun. It's a physical mismatch, and they don't have to worry. I know they lost a lot of their guys. A lot of guys opted out on their defense. Miami's not the team that's going to push you downfield. That's a huge hole they have. But you can, with receivers in the draft, they can fill that. But Belichick he's just going to win that game and move on to next week. His offense will probably look completely different next week. But no, I wasn't. I was just in the middle of the road. I waiting for Tua. I'm hoping if Tua starts playing the season, he's healthy, I'll consider this whole season a victory, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And that's all you can hope for at this point. And hey, it's baby steps, at this point. Yeah,
I'm sticking to the plan, man. They had a long-term plan. We're committed to it now. We're not blowing things up. We'll talk about some teams that are on the other side of that later, but I bet you have something.
I know, right?
So what'd you watch yesterday? Anything interesting?
What did I watch? Oh, I watched my beloved Washington football team win a game. Our first home opening win since 2014.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, when we beat the lowly Jacksonville Jaguars.
Was that the RG3 year, or was he before that?
Was
that the RG3 rookie year, or was he?
No, I think, matter of fact, I think Kurt was there then.
Okay. Man, that was fun. I remember
RG3 I think that's when RG got benched, because RG was a rookie in 2012. So I think he got benched that third year, because I think that's matter of fact, that's the Jay Gruden first game.
Of course. So
Coincidentally.
I'm gonna
Yeah, because
split this
Shanahan just
one up,
got
man.
fired.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
throw you a
Shanahan.
changeup right down the plate. What happened,
Yeah.
man? What happened? Tell me how that game turned around. Tell me how you went through it.
Man, I'm gonna tell you. So in the beginning, it looked bad. I'm not gonna front. I mean, they were, we were down 17-0, and then we got something together in the second half. Second half came, it was forced when we get to halftime, it was 17-7. Then the third quarter, I mean, we just started chipping away at that lead. We just had pressure on Wentz. We sacked him 8 times, and we just, we said what we said we were going to do. We talked about this all the time, where we knew that this team was going to get pressure on quarterbacks, and that came to fruition in this game. And you just look at just the pressure that because Wentz had nowhere to go. I mean, and it's crazy because even one of the plays where it was like a 3rd and 25 and he converted, and we still was like, okay, well, all right, but we still getting licks on them. So it was one of the things where it was confidence. And then it's just a whole regime change where you look at Ron Rivera to a point where he was Riverboat Ron in the situation where we were tied 17-17.
Yeah.
And go for it on that 4th and 1, where I will guarantee you, I
was worried about you,
person, huh?
I was worried about you.
Yeah, and the crazy thing about it was, in most cases, I don't even think the last 3 or 4 coaching staffs, administrations would have done that. Most of us, and I'm so used to our team having that conservative nature where, okay, we're gonna go and kick a field goal, but we was like, no, we're gonna punch this in and score. And that was you got to think about it. We've always been notorious for doing that, where we'll go up 17-20, Philly come back 24-20, and then we have no answer to come back.
Yep.
That lets me know, like, this is a sign, like, not saying, I know this is overreaction, which I get to my overreactions later on, but this lets me know this is a new regime. This is something that we have not had in years, where we got somebody who, and I love the fact how at halftime, when Pam Oliver asked him, well, what about Dwayne's struggles? He's like, no, we just need to give him time to let him throw and get the reads down. Well, and everybody, and that's one thing too, where and we live in this social media, like Twitter, Facebook, instantaneous world. I mean, guys will call in for Alex Smith to get out of his street clothes and suit up. And I'm like, no, this is you. In the beginning, he didn't have any time to throw. He had no, and like I'm glad Ron Rivera addressed. He said that. He was like, well, no, we need to give him more time so he can throw.
And he's had no preseason. He is essentially a rookie. He came out young out of Ohio State. He'd only played 1 year, and he's actually a young kid came out a redshirt sophomore.
Right.
And then last year, was all over the map. He got his licks in. He got hit in the mouth a little bit. He got to throw the ball, but he really a wasted season as far as a rookie. So it's essentially, and like say, didn't barely got hit in the preseason, didn't have to read a defense, and to come out and be a playoff team. And he looked calm doing it. He to me, he looked like, if I just do this, and I've got faith in my team winning, and I think that's a lot of Rivera. And here's what I saw, and you touched on it already. You see it. The plan to build that defensive line worked. Like they and especially early in this season, without the practices and without the hitting, the defensive line is going to be dominant for a few weeks. And it wasn't just one guy chasing him at a time. It was packs. It kind of reminded me of, I'm sure it brings up bad memories, but like the New York Giants of the early 2000s, and you come in droves. And and Kerrigan, how about Kerrigan? Sack, right? Broke the all-time sack leader. Really felt good. Really felt good for him. It felt like a complete game. I felt good for Rivera. I mean, he's going through some health issues. We think he's going to be fine, but still, it's I don't know. I was impressed. I won't give anything away for later, but I was impressed.
Yeah, and that was one of the things where I was just really impressed to just the way I thought, because we were almost in the same predicament last year where we were up. I think we might have been up by 17. We was up by 14 points. Philly last year at Philly. And then they came back in the second half and beat us. Well, that's
Yeah.
another thing too, where you look at it and you're like, now this team, and you think about just going through that type of adversity in the beginning in this first game really shows me like this team is going to be in fights. Like this team,
Right.
everybody, Trevor Lawrence to Washington, that's not going to happen. Like let's slow our roll. So we, we talked about, I think one of the biggest wins of this week.
And they had a tough offseason too. That team, that wasn't an easy offseason for the team.
Yeah.
I mean, they actually, they lost I shouldn't say they lost their nickname. They, turned over the nickname, with everything going on in the front office, change of coach, the draft. I mean, a lot of pressure. How about Chase, man? I mean,
yeah.
Amazing. I mean, he's performing day one. That's unbelievable for
right.
I think Kerrigan and him, what a great pair. Like I just it was just a fun. They just had a lot of fun. They seemed to really enjoy it.
Yep.
It just felt good to watch. I even like it. You know what? I like the unis. I'm not gonna lie. Like I'll take the number on the helmet, whatever their name is.
I know. And so funny. Rob put me at first. I was like, I think that's disgusting. And Rob was like, you know what? They kind of got a little, like Alabama kind of feel.
I love it.
So I was like, you know what? It's something I'm getting used to. But I think if we still continue doing what we're doing, I'm okay with WFT.
They might keep it. Hey,
right.
You know what? And the most important thing about the NFL is wins. Like a win, a win counts, man. Like it's so important to get win. I know it sounds silly, but that's all that matters. Just I talked about Belichick, same thing. Just get the win. And we'll talk about a team later that did not get the win that they should have got.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about, wins. And then you look at now we have a collection of like veteran leadership. Yeah. You touched on the Ryan Kerrigan, Chase Young dynamic. Then Alex Smith and Dwayne Haskins, which I think I talked about ad nauseum. Where I think that was one that I was like, I love that because I think, and everybody really attributes essentially Patrick Mahomes, as far as his development. But then we still got to remember, Colin Kaepernick was in that same predicament. I know it might be taboo to talk about Colin Kaepernick in NFL circles, but and you look at it. Right, and he talked about that as well. Like as far as even when that team made it to the Super Bowl, and he was talking about how instrumental guys like Alex Smith was into the locker room. And I think this has happened now, where you look at what Dwayne did. Like at halftime, he did a halftime speech.
No, I liked it. I mean, obviously, I watched every single snap the kid had in college. I like everything about him. They were way too early. Well, there's all kinds of reasons why they're too early to jump the ship on him, but I think he's an NFL quarterback. I'm not saying I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer, but he's an NFL quarterback. Yeah,
and I think that's amazing. Like he's to me, he's already shown to be a leader. And he definitely wouldn't have been one last year.
I never thought about this.
Fact of just that coaching staff. That's why now you look at it, and now you're seeing there is a potential of continuity. I think that what excites me more so than what happened last night, the continuity of seeing this going forward, where we can see, I wonder why Dwayne is being successful. Maybe because he had the same coach and coaching staff for several years versus, being in a situation where you went from Jay Gruden to, and then
I don't think Gruden ever even coached him. Like Gruden didn't like him. Gruden didn't want him. Haskins did not look like he was coached last year. You know what? You want to talk about overreaction? I'll give you a comparison. Look at the way Tom Brady chose to play his first couple years in New England, where he was just quote unquote a game manager, get some first downs, don't screw it up, and then look what he turned into 10 years later. That's you can have both quarterbacks. Your quarterback doesn't have to he doesn't have to be Mahomes his first 2 years in the league. Like you can progress and not throw interceptions. Like sometimes I think Jameis Winston felt, it kind of got trapped by that. Like he was putting up all the stats, but did he learn how to not, lose a game? And maybe Haskins will do that. Maybe he'll take 171 yards and a win. We'll see. But since it's Overreaction Monday, I'll say it. He's the next Tom Brady. Out there. Can't take it back. But
Yes, indeed.
real quick though, Haskins, that's kind of from your area, right? Is he from? I know he's
He's
from
from Maryland.
Okay, so is it? I mean, I'm not sure that whole the Maryland, DC, Richmond area
He be
there.
about 2 hours away.
Oh,
About
that's
2 hours away from.
Oh yeah, that's cool though. Yeah,
Yeah, so
he's right there.
he's roughly, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's how close Joe Burrow was to us. I mean, that's pretty close, man.
Yeah.
That's super cool. Good for him. Good for Dwayne.
Yeah, I know. I'm happy for him.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you be?
So absolutely. So your biggest winner in week 1.
Okay, so here was my contestants, real quick.
Mm-hmm.
My one of my reactions was the Washington football team. And I was like, no. And then I thought about, Cam Newton. I felt good for Cam.
Mm-hmm.
If we look at him as a veteran quarterback who's accomplished a lot, he's come back from adversity.
Yep.
He's taken $1 million to be a starting quarterback, which is insane. And I thought about Cam. I thought about the Arizona Cardinals. Great victory. But you know what? This is a cop-out. NFL fans, like actual NFL fans, a lot of us didn't think that yesterday would happen.
Yeah.
I thought it looked pretty good. I thought the game looked and sounded pretty good on TV for no fans in the stands, except for Jacksonville had maybe 10,000. The football was great yesterday. Great games. It wasn't now. I don't know how much you watched a college Saturday, but it was a mess. Outside of Clemson, it was a mess. I mean, I'm not saying games weren't close, but they were not crisp. It was not pretty. But I thought the NFL looked good. The NFL fans, I think, won. I mean, I think it felt good to watch. It was as close to normal as we could possibly hope for 4 months ago, man. So I got the biggest winner was us. If I'm being honest.
I agree. And the weird thing about it was I was thinking, well, it's gonna look eerie that no one's in the stands, but that's
he did a great job.
And I guess it's just like how we were when it came to the NBA, where we were like, okay, well, ain't no fans. Yeah. Okay, well, hey, I'll take that versus not having the game at all.
And what'd you think of the pumped-in crowd noise? How did it sound to you? You didn't watch as many.
Actually, what's so funny? It went pretty well, especially on our end, because I like it. It is weird in my mind. I was like, "It's people." I forgot all about the no fans in the stands during the game, and it dawned on me, like you said, the crowd noise, and it worked out. And I think it was good. I mean, it was great.
I watched a part of every game, literally, and there was a few teams that even I think that say for instance, the Baltimore Ravens, they chose to go with a constant decibel level, and they didn't want to be rude or any, they just kind of, and it was cool, just kind of a murmur, but it sounded all right. Basically, that game, that's how it would have sounded anyway. Yeah. But then there were other games. I think it was, oh man, I wish I could remember. Anyway, it was one of the big games, and they actually adjusted it according to scores and turnovers. They even had some negative fan boos and stuff in it. You know what I mean? So that was pretty cool. But all in all, man, that's all you can hope for with no fans in the stands. I was impressed, and it was a distraction for a day, and it was really good football. A lot of the rookies, had great days. It was just a lot of fun. It was just a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think my biggest win it's got to be Arizona. I think Arizona.
Oh, Arizona.
And it's so funny. I predicted them to win that game.
Oh no, you're actually. I kind of looked sideways at your picks this week, and as things were happening,
I had a funny feeling because Arizona's going to be a sneaky team where I don't think they're going to be a playoff team per se, but like we said, I think we said that last week where
you got to win.
You can see this team, you can see this team just sneaking and just getting these type of victories like this one, a road win against the NFC champion San Francisco 49ers on the road.
And they look good. The 49ers look the same, by the way.
Yeah.
The only big key missing was Deebo Samuel. I love him, but that defense is ferocious. Still, they were fast. They were physical. They were up to the challenge. And, Arizona and my man Kyler Murray stood up to him. I was super impressed. Quick shout out since you brought up Arizona game.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know if a a lot of people caught this because it was quick and you had to be watching. So at the end of the first half, Arizona's trying to get a quick, steal a field goal at the end of the first half. So Murray throws a pass. It's caught. The guy goes down. They don't have any timeouts left, right? Larry Fitzgerald, he wasn't, he didn't receive the ball. He was on the field though. Runs across. As soon as his receiver hits the ground, Larry's running across the line of scrimmage, grabs the ball out of his hands, because what they're going to do, they're going to try and hold the guy down and run the clock out, right? So before the refs can get it, Larry, he's running by as soon as the guy gets tackled, grabs the ball, runs it, spots it at the exact spot in front of the ref, and all the ref had to do was say go, and there was 2 seconds left on the clock when Kyler spiked the ball. So quick shout out to Larry Fitzgerald for literally stealing 2 points. Because if they would have laid on his player, if somebody would have tapped the ball, if they would have just and you had to catch it real quick. And I'm like, that is why he is he's one of the GOATs. I won't say he's the GOAT, but he's way up there. But it was just a really cool play that I picked up. I like to see little things like it. But anyway, Arizona was definitely on my list. It was a real game too. They look good. Simmons struggled a little bit as a rookie.
He did. Yeah, but he gonna be all right though.
First
he gonna be a problem,
especially against that offense to where they're running. They're running linemen and tight ends out at you at the secondary, which is what they do. He got pancaked, but he was fine. He was all right. But Arizona looked good, looked fast. Peterson, is still Peterson. I think he's got a couple years of eliteness in him. So yeah, super, super fun game. Real happy for him.
Yeah, and we got a tough task. We got to go to Arizona next week, and
there you go. Who knew week 2 outside of you called it. Outside of you, who knew? Who was like, who I'm circling on next week's schedule? Arizona, Washington.
Exactly.
Game, but
for the battle for the battle of supremacy in the NFC. Who will have it? Who will get an early 2-0 start to start the season?
Yeah, right.
So wow. Man.
Hey, that's football.
And then also I think Jacksonville getting that win. I think that was another one where getting it at the way they did. Because you look at the Jacksonville team, it's pretty much decimated.
I got them in a different category for the exact same reason. No, good for them. Good for them fighting through it. I'll talk about him here in just a second. But that's a huge, huge victory.
And then another one, I think the Raiders, which I called them winning this game against the Panthers, which the Raiders, for some bizarre reason, they struggle when they go out east. So to get an East Coast win for them early like this, it's pretty good, and it sets them up for a home game next week against New Orleans. So I was like, I like what the Las Vegas Raiders, and that's another thing where I got to get used to.
Oh yeah, me too. I just started saying Vegas. I'm hoping it'll sink in. Yeah, Ruggs looked good as a rookie. He was a little dinged up. I didn't catch if he came back in the game. I think he's all right. But and I'll tell you another thing because I was really watching. I'm a huge Teddy Bridgewater fan, and McCaffrey and all that. They looked pretty good. Carolina looked pretty good. Bridgewater had a pretty good game. They just lost. That was actually, I would say those two teams are real close. Probably top 15, in the league, right at their teams, and a win here or there, you never know. But I wasn't disappointed with Bridgewater. I was nervous about him carrying. He hadn't carried his own team since the Vikings, and that was kind of, he kind of fell into that when the next year when he got hurt was supposed to be his team. So proud of Teddy. But hey, Vegas, man, that's a win, and their division. It seems crazy hard, but outside of the Chiefs, we don't know.
Right. Yeah, West could be a little intriguing. Could be.
Oh, yeah.
Could be.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
That's the potential. So, Jeff, who was the biggest loser in week 1?
Man, there's a few contestants here. So I started off with the Browns, obviously. Just real quick, you can't come into another season with these expectations and a change and look that bad. Mayfield did not progress. OBJ's pouting and carrying on. I don't want to hear they're not throwing in the ball. They forced him the ball about 9 times in a row. He's not getting free on routes. He's whining and crying. He's basically the Browns and OBJ. I'm kind of done with him. He's not helping that team win. You know, he's not the guy that we talked about that is helping a younger receiver. Like, he's not a, you know, I don't know. I'm just done with him and the Browns. But that was a tough loss for the Browns because what do you do now? But it's not them. Cowboys, horrible loss. You can't take it. I got them at 12-4. They got 1 loss already, but I didn't go with them. Then I went with the Colts. The Colts can't lose the gimme. They have to win the 2 versus the Jags this year if they want to win their division. And you lose to the Jags, a team that has no reason to win. Phillip Rivers, you know, he took the money. It's not like Phillip Rivers went there. He's not like Cam Newton. He took the money and they're supposed to be a playoff team. Real tough one. But my biggest loser is the Jacksonville Jaguars fans, because if you watch Clemson play Saturday night and you watch Trevor Lawrence, there is no. I tweeted it out. I'd put 9 men on the field. You know, that kid is an NFL quarterback tomorrow if he comes into the league. And if you're Jacksonville, and nothing against Minshew, he's doing his job and he's doing a great job. But there's no way. I would find a way to lose that game. So I'm happy for him. But the fans, really, man, they don't want to go. Like, man, Dolphins just did it. You know what I mean? Like, they won a little too many games last year. They didn't have the choice. So no, it's kind of kidding, but it's kind of not, because I've been there. But so anyway, yeah. But really, the Colts, man, you can't take that loss. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
How about you, brother?
Obviously, I think the Browns, just for the statistical purpose, they're the only team that got shut out by 32 points.
And like I say, we watched the game. It was like there was never nothing. They never got anything going. They went away from Chubb. Then they had Chubb at wide receiver, which looks great. Mayfield never looks, and then he'll just have these spurts to where he'll throw 5 times in a row the same route. If it wasn't for pass interference, they called like 3 on one drive. Like, they couldn't even make headway. He's always running around. Like, he's always moving, even though he doesn't really need to all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That was a mess, man. They did not look. Their defensive line looked pretty good. Their front 7 actually looked really good. They'll give a bad team trouble.
Yeah, and you know what's so funny about that team? Because remember, they were facing like a 3-41 at one point.
Yeah, it was. I believe it got up to 41.
And then this is a recurring theme. Last year they lost by 30 points to Tennessee at home.
Yeah,
same. Now
it's the same.
Right, it's the same.
They're just
and now they lost on the road to Baltimore by 32. And it's just one of the things where you're saying where it's just, I mean, when do you hit the? I mean, you already hit the panic button. Now it's almost like, is it time to get off the boat?
Yeah, it's real close. It's real close. Yeah. You might you might want to put the life jacket on. You might want to get it cinched up, because it's getting closer time to abandon ship. But yeah, we'll see. Like I say, they got a good front 7. They'll be in some games. Oh, it's just me now. I lost coach. I consider running the Browns all night, but I don't think he wants me to do that. He'll be back.
And that's like you saying, these divisional games are critical. They're huge, especially when we look at these 2 teams are kind of like the third best teams, could be, in the running for the third best team in this conference, in the division. So you're looking, so one guy tells from the other, and who's to say? But I think ultimately the Browns, but a 1A has got to be Detroit. Yeah,
that's man. But like I say, the Cowboys, man, they can't take opening day loss. Like, they can't. I understand it was a good team, but with everything that's going on and Dak, wanting to be, at the next level, which he probably is. I don't even argue with what he's doing.
Yeah,
that doesn't help. If you lose by if you lose like that, but you score 40, it looks different. They're just man, I don't know. There's something that just with the way they're built, man, they ought to score more. They ought to move down the field more. There's something missing there about that team, and I think they're definitely on alert. After you watch Green Bay and those teams, Dallas is definitely on alert.
But yeah, like you said, when you see Green Bay,
Minnesota and Green Bay, like that's how you want to lose. That's how you want to lose. Like,
shootout.
But hey, good for the Rams, man.
Good for the Rams.
I know. They got their victory.
Yeah, and what a beautiful stadium. God.
But man, there's a lot of stories about that stadium. That's a weird situation. A $5 billion stadium.
Yeah.
I heard some LA guys saying, yeah, but they're not going to like show you where it's built. Like, it sounds like maybe some of that money could have been put into the community. There's some, it's a little fishy there, but we'll see. I mean, they got years. We'll see what happens.
And it's so cool. And it's so cool because it's right by the Forum. So
it's awesome.
And that's probably where the Clippers going to be at, more than likely. So that'd be kind of cool. Yeah. So that's going to be interesting. So now that the show turns and the overreaction. So I want to give your best overreactions for this week.
Okay. One, the Patriots Patriots don't even miss Brady. They're the same Patriots. They're as good as they ever were. That's an overreaction. I don't agree with that at all. I think that offense will be. I think the offense and defense will be exposed, later on. But that's an overreaction. Minshew's the answer in Jacksonville. They don't need Trevor Lawrence.
Ooh.
Minshew's. Well, I mean, why would you get away from him? He only he had 2 incompletions the other day, and he beats a potential playoff team. Brady's washed up. That's it. It's done. He's too old. They'd rather have Jameis Winston. They should have never signed Brady. That's one. Dak made a mistake by not taking the money. He's going to be exposed, and he's going to be the Cam Newton of next year, and he's going to be playing for $1 million for Jacksonville or somebody. Time for the Browns to move on from Mayfield. It's like Browns fans were overreacting, like you said, like first quarter. Like Browns, that was it, man. They were done. But one of my ones that I think might be true, the Texans. I know it feels like they played last year because it was Thursday. Texans might need to rethink everything they're doing and rebuild already. And I'm not sure that one's not true. I don't know if that team's, especially in the Patrick Mahomes division, I don't know if that team's built to win right now. And I think it could slide away from them quick.
Yeah, and you know what's scary about the Texans? They got to play Baltimore this week. So it's like, oh, boy, here we go.
And you never know.
Right, could be potentially 0-2.
Yeah, they might win and right the ship, and I look crazy, but if they don't, and there's just something about the team that just doesn't – they don't feel like a Super Bowl team. And I think if you've got a Super Bowl quarterback and he's – you're paying him like a Super Bowl quarterback, you got to give him a Super Bowl team. Okay, right now, if you put Deshaun Watson on Dallas Cowboys, he's going to the playoffs. Like, it's a no-brainer. If you put him on the LA Rams, he's going to the playoffs. Like, he's a playoff quarterback. Build a team around him. He could take over any team in the league, any good team in the league, and he's going to the playoffs. Correct. So you got to give that young man a team if you're gonna pay him like that. Don't waste this kid's career, man.
Yeah.
But move on from Mayfield might be real. In my opinion, I don't ever root against a player, but I'm saying as watching football, like something's got to give here with him. I don't know if he needs a change of scenery. I don't know what it is, but there's something not working in year 3. When you see these other guys, I mean, Joe Burrow first game looked better than Mayfield yesterday.
Yeah, he looked good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think my biggest overreaction My nephew. As if people know, I'm a UNC Tar Heel football guy. So
I know
anybody who's younger than me, I call him my nephew. But my nephew, Mitchell Joe Montana Trubisky.
that. I never thought about the connection.
Last night against the Detroit Lions, 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. I don't know if I was seeing Joe Montana, Steve Young, Patrick Mahomes all rolled into one last night. But Mitchell Trubisky lit up the sky in Michigan, and
it was awesome.
You're right. I've never seen a performance just as good in Detroit since Jordan beat the Pistons. So we're gonna keep these overreactions. Like I said,
he's the best player in Detroit since Barry Sanders played there. I think he's the best player to play in Detroit since Barry Sanders.
Yes, in that performance.
He's you know what? He actually might be the best Chicago Bears quarterback of all time. And I think I mean that.
Right. Potentially. Yeah.
In all seriously, he made some big throws. The kid's talented. He has flaws. He has that flaw to where he throws incompletions. I did some stats on him last year to where it took him like twice as many passing yards per point as say a Pro Bowl quarterback. Like his stats, I would look at him. I'm like, man, I watched the game. I would not have guessed he had 365. And then you watch it and there's just too many, third down. But no, good for him, man. Once again, come back and steal a win.
You're right.
I feel bad for Swift, for Detroit, for dropping that ball. I really do.
Oh man,
start your NFL career. But he'll be fine. But that was a tough one. But yeah. Good for your boy, Mitch. Hey, sky's the limit. Sky's the limit.
Gardner Minshew, like you said, going back to your point,
right? One of the best games of the week.
You're right. Should Trevor Lawrence hold off on buying that condo in Jacksonville?
Yeah, he might be looking up the road now. Who would he be looking at now? You know what? He's probably, here's an overreaction. Lawrence going to be in Philadelphia next year.
Oh, don't sound. Oh boy, that's scary. Then that means we got to play him twice a year. Ooh.
They're not going to be that bad. It is curious. I wonder who is going to.
I know that's gonna be the interesting thing, and also what else? Yeah, Gardner Minshew, the Minshew mania is running rampant once again in Jacksonville.
It's crazy. I can't make sense of it, and I'm like, oh man, like, you know what? Maybe it works out. Maybe he is that good. I don't know much about the kid. Oh, you know what? Somebody we haven't mentioned it. I think we both like Josh Allen.
Josh Allen, looked very well. Yeah, he looked great.
He did exactly what he's supposed to do. That's what playoff teams do. Like, you have a solid game, you get your victory, and you go home.
Yep.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I forgot. He looked good yesterday. Man, he's underrated. Like, he's just kind of a physical freak too. Like, I like watching that kid play. Like, he's fun. But good for him. I forgot about that earlier.
Right. And then who's to say we might best offensive coordinator might be in Jacksonville in Jay Gruden. But no, that's too overreactive.
That's overreactive.
But they did have a good performance in Jacksonville.
It was great.
It was great. It was a great start. I don't know if that's going to be the standard going forward, but I mean, it's great for now.
Let me throw this at you, Coach. Does the lack of preseason actually make a team like Jacksonville, who everybody knows is going to be terrible, or thinks, quote unquote knows, does that make them, though, when you haven't hit anybody, when you haven't seen another team, you don't know any better?
Correct.
You didn't, like, okay, say Minshew plays the preseason, and then say he has, what is it? It's usually game 3 they play the most minutes.
Yeah.
Say he's terrible. So then by the time he gets to game 1, does that change mentalities? Because, I mean, sports is a mental game. Like, is that a case to where lack of preseason kept things closer than like maybe in 3 weeks? Like, we have no idea. Like,
yeah,
I never really thought about that till just now, but I'm pretty smart, I think, on the fly like that. So it just popped in my head. But
And you know what's so funny? Because remember, Gardner Minshew remember he did pretty good in the beginning. Remember last
Yeah,
year,
real good.
he had a great start because I think he had a few. I know he had at least like a fourth quarter comeback.
Oh yeah, he had a
And then he stuck
run.
up the joint to a point where they forced Nick Foles to get in that game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, they forced him back. And I'm like, that's another one where you're like, yeah, let's pump the brakes for now. Trevor Lawrence, I just hope when you put your down payment on that condo in Jacksonville that you at least have it's refundable.
You know what? If nothing else, he can sublet it. He can sublet it.
Right. Yeah, right. He can sublease it. He can sublease it to Gardner.
I mean, Jacksonville wins the Super Bowl. They're still going to draft like 32nd or something. Like that guy can still afford the condo. He may not have Trevor Lawrence money, but Trevor Lawrence can be playing for the Browns next year. That's where Trevor Lawrence is going to be.
Probably. I would not be surprised. I'm telling you, it could literally be that way, and they would be in a perfect spot because, and they would be. That would be interesting. That would be definitely interesting if that was to happen because you look at it where would you rebuild or would you just keep what you got?
They get Trevor Lawrence next year. They're at least 8-8. Like you're guaranteed 8-8.
Playoff team.
I'm telling you, that front seven was legit. Like Lamar didn't have it. Like he looked really good. By the way, Lamar threw really well yesterday for everybody. That's all I heard for the last 6 months is he's got to start throwing here and throwing there.
Right.
The kid looked amazing out there, and his completions always matter. Like he's the opposite of some of these guys. Like his stats always matter. Like they lead to scores. Like he only had like 235, 245. And got 38 points out of it. Like he's just so efficient.
Yep.
Makes big throws, but he throws off his back foot a lot. I'm a little concerned about the Ravens' offensive line. We'll find out. You know, that's something that can be worked on through practice. So we'll find out in a couple of weeks. But Cleveland was in his butt a little bit.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what's crazy about it all is, man, it's gonna be interesting to how that's gonna happen. Where you look at now where they have the coach. They have a coach in place now. If Baker fails, then that means that's on him.
That's how I see it.
Because it's at a point where, hey, we got rid of Hugh Jackson so you can get Freddie Kitchens, and that exploded in their face.
Mm-hmm.
And now, we got our guy that So now, if you don't do good in his system, we might see a little Case Keenum.
Yep.
Here or there.
I think that's exactly how it might go.
Potentially, yeah. That's like when they signed Case Keenum, I was like, you know what, that could potentially happen. Well, I think if they fall at maybe like 0-2, 0-3, they have like a slow, if they continue this slow start, because even at that point, you can somewhat salvage the season because they have the pieces. They're a playoff on paper. They are a playoff team, and if you get a guy in Case Keenum who Stefanski had success with him 3 years ago going to the NFC Championship game. It's a potential.
And Baker's in that risky part of his contract too, to where that rookie contract's about up, and you got to start making a decision on money. I think it's the 4th or 5th year, but it's like he's getting into that. Like you got to start making some, just like Deshaun Watson and all these guys.
Mm-hmm.
That's when they start getting their money, is that 4th and 5th year. So you start making some hard decisions. Stefanski's not, like I said, he's not falling that sword for a guy that he didn't draft. So I know that's enough on the Browns, but
right.
Yeah,
because you think about it, they probably had to pick up his option within what 3 years within, because he came out at 18. So
this is 3rd year.
So this is 3rd year. So next year, they would have to either pick up his option, his 5th year option for the following year, almost like what Mitchell Trubisky doing.
Exactly.
So now, you really gotta. I mean, this is make or break. But I tell you that if they put Case in there, you can forget it, because I think he's gonna be there. He'll be there for the long haul.
And I think OBJ might be. I don't want to accuse him of anything, but I don't think he's giving his best effort to Mayfield.
Yeah.
I hate to accuse somebody of that, but man, some don't look right. Like
Oh,
he shouldn't.
yeah.
I look at it this way: when there's a breakdown of communication between those two, whether it's a drop pass from OBJ or whether it's a missed throw or whether he thinks he was open, he doesn't go right to Mayfield and talk about it. He's always on the sidelines, either arguing with the ref or he's always talking to an assistant coach. It's never him and Mayfield. Your star, your best receiver, veteran receiver, and your quarterback ought to be having conversations. There ought to be more interaction than I see.
Right.
And I know but it's overreaction Monday, but they're just way too far apart, like on the field. Something's weird about that.
Yeah. And like they even was saying, even in the offseason, like, well, these guys got to get their chemistry packed. I'm like,
there's none.
Like what happened last year? Like y'all didn't get y'all chemistry together last year? Like, and this ain't the first year of y'all being together. Like, and this is the second year. Like, and that's bad because at least you can think to yourself, okay, all right, if I don't have, I gotta have chemistry with my number one option.
Right.
I can understand, if I didn't have it with certain guys like the third string or the slot receiver, okay, yeah, I get that. But like if you can't establish that with Odell, there's a problem. Like that's a big problem to me. I'm like,
and that's how good Eli was at that. He, you know what I mean?
Right.
He knew how to do that. And my last overreaction with the Browns, I'm just saying, like, now you're at the point to where if they're going to ride this out with Mayfield and they're going to play like they did yesterday, then all of a sudden you're going to have Chubb. I want to go somewhere and win.
Right.
Landry, like, I'm out of here. Like, Landry is a Super Bowl winning receiver. Like, that dude brings it every week. I hated to lose him in Miami, and I he's not going to just like, I'm just going to ride this out. I mean, he's got 3 great years left, probably, maybe 2.
Right.
And so then you're going to start seeing that, Myles Garrett, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's just how this goes. We've seen it a million times. So if we're overreacting, that's a fragile state. But I'm sorry. I'll stop talking about the Browns.
No, that's all good.
I care less. But
right.
It's just an interesting story.
But yeah, because I remember when Jarvis came, I was like, he quietly led the league in receptions in Miami. Quietly.
Tell me about it.
And it's like, and I was like, he's going to be the guy who changed the culture around. This is before Baker got there. He's the first piece. And I'm like, and
then without Landry yesterday,
right.
I mean,
we're talking zero.
I tell you what, you take Jarvis Landry and you put him on Baltimore. That's a
he's all pro.
Take on the Chiefs. Like they're even with the Chiefs. Like he's that good.
Oh yeah.
So and he's the best receiver on the Browns. I can tell you that.
Absolutely, and that's the thing where I think people fail to realize his greatness because he hasn't really had a good quarterback, and that's the thing. Like you said, if he went to Baltimore, he's an all-pro wide receiver. Like, he's an all-pro wide receiver.
Oh man, he's all everything. Yeah,
right. Because because what he did in Miami, and I was like, no one knows that. Like, because I remember we were on air the day he signed with Cleveland, and I was like, did y'all know he actually lead the league in receptions? Like. And he was certified in that. So
and he was like fastest to 300 receptions and all. I mean, he's got great he's having a Hall of Fame career, and he's a great receiver too. Like he's a great route runner.
Right.
He blocks. He knows he's always in great position. I mean, he is a terrific football player. I'm almost starting to feel bad for him there, and that's what's going to happen. It's going to break down like that unless you go to Keenum and he's like, yeah, I know how to throw to the best player on the field. Like I can do that.
And he will.
Yes, he will.
Shoot. Him and Stephon Diggs had great chemistry.
That's exactly right. And Landry's way beyond Stephon Diggs.
Yeah. And matter of fact, Case Keenum was on, he was throwing darts in the sky in Philadelphia last year in our opening game. And, and him and Terry McLaurin had a great in the early stages of that. Yeah, and he was slinging it last year. And the only thing about it was we just sucked in every way, in every which word, essentially, because Case was balling. I mean, initially in the beginning, he was on fire.
He was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
speaking of Minnesota, real quick, Adam Thielen back from injury looked great. Great receiver.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Devontae Adams looked great yesterday for Green Bay. That was a
Right.
fun game. Those are two good
That was
teams. Nobody wants
mhm.
to play those teams. Those are good teams.
Yeah.
All right, sorry,
Frightening,
man.
frighteningly good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I found a topic tonight. Who gets this week's game ball for overreaction week 1 of the 2020 NFL season? Who gets this week's game ball?
Okay, so I already told you about the Larry Fitzgerald play.
Yeah.
I have caped for Larry Fitzgerald for years. I didn't give it to him though, but I want to point out that play, and I hope everybody goes back and watches it. It was fantastic. I almost gave it to the Washington football team, but I'm like, I'm not going to step on coach's parade today. I actually gave it to Kyler Murray, Arizona Cardinals. I love the kid. He had 230 yards passing. He had 91 yards rushing. He had a touchdown each way, but he had huge plays. He has, he took the lead. He had 2-minute offense. He had control of the game. He really looked comfortable out there against a great defense, not a good defense, a great defense. So can't say enough about. It's hard to argue with Devontae Adams either, but I gave mine to Kyler Murray, man. Like that's what a quarterback should look like from year 1 to year 2. And that was a tough game with no preseason against a great defense. So good for you, Kyler.
Yeah, Kyler. Yeah, we got our handful with him next week. It's gonna be fun. Well, Sunday.
That's a great matchup, though. You've got that
great matchup.
That huge defense because San Francisco, great. I mean, great edge rushers, obviously great defense, but they're not quite as large right at the front. They got a lot of linebacker speed and things like that. So what's Kyler going to do? They're coming straight up the gut.
Straight up, right?
Straight up the gut. That's an interesting matchup. That's a great matchup.
Yeah,
I think Chase Young might be wearing Kyler Murray in a backpack by the end of the game. When I do my storyline show later in the week, maybe we'll get into that.
And that's a thing where you look at it, that is going to be an interesting matchup because you look at like what they did with Wentz, where Wentz, he couldn't even escape the pocket. So just imagine how Kyler is going to escape out the pocket and see how that goes, and that's going to be interesting. And definitely shout out to our guys at the All In Pod. So they said that game ball goes to Devontae Adams. They actually came on the pod last week. Definitely huge shout out to those guys.
Looks great. He looked great yesterday.
Yeah, he looked great. Right? As you mentioned earlier. Yep, as you alluded earlier. Yeah, he looked great.
I love watching Aaron Rodgers play. Devontae Adams has become a really good receiver because he's got – we talked – this exact same situation. This is what receivers can develop into when they have a quarterback that, if you're running routes and the guy's not getting you the ball, like you just can't learn the fundamentals, like the little things that Rodgers can teach you. Like, Devontae Adams has excelled so much in the last 3 years at wide receiver because of playing with Rodgers. I remember when he started kind of filling in and stepping up, and he's a legit, all pro receiver right now. Now he could go to any team and be that. So I'm not against that. Great game. He had a great game.
He had a great game. And like you said, it was, like he was going to be the next up. And we always seen like with Green Bay wide receivers, like, they're there, but they're someone on the come up, but they don't live up to their potential. But you look at Devontae Adams, he's definitely lived up to his potential. So that game ball actually goes to his quarterback, Aaron Rodgers.
There you go.
And it's funny, as I said on the podcast last week when we did a preview for the storylines, you have a pissed off Aaron Rodgers. 364 yards and 4 touchdowns last night.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right here. Wow.
And man, I'm telling you, he's got something to prove. He's like, look, this ain't, y'all can get rid of me all you want. You probably will, but at the end of the day, I'm putting up tape for everybody. So anybody, he's gonna be like Earl Thomas running the Jason Garrett. Come get me. Come get me.
And we talked about Devontae Adams had 14 receptions for 156, 2 touchdowns. But then you got Valdez Scantling had a touchdown. I've honestly never heard of the guy. Nothing insulting. I'm just being honest. Lazard, I know Lazard. Most teams, you don't even know he's on a team. And I'm saying because of their quarterback, this guy's got 63 yards and a touchdown. These guys are doing their job, and Aaron Rodgers gets them the ball
Right.
rewards them for doing their job. And it's exactly the opposite you see, like we'll just say the Browns. It's exactly the opposite.
Right.
These guys are wasting routes, and a receiver, even in high school when I played wide receiver, like you only run so many routes and realize the quarterback's never going to look at you, and you don't run those routes the same. So in the fourth quarter, when you need a first down, your receiver's running lazy routes. And that is a real thing. So yeah, you're right. Rodgers is a baller, man.
Yeah. And he just just balling and just doing this thing. And that's a crazy thing about it where, hey, I'm gonna keep doing our thing. And the thing with Green Bay, and I think they're gonna really realize once they get rid of him, he covers a lot of their deficiencies. Like to me, I always look at him, he's like the deodorant where, yeah, he might have musty arms, but he got that deodorant you wouldn't even notice that this defense lacks certain things.
He might be better than that.
For years.
He might be like body spray at this point. Like he's covering everything up.
Of legitimate weapons. I mean, he used to have Eddie Lacy as his running back, and our biggest concern was when is he going to gain weight before daylight savings time?
Man, when they played night games, he would be overweight.
Right. And that's another thing too. Where you gotta realize he's been through a lot in Green Bay. You think about it, and he's really has covered their deficiencies. You got to think yourself like
they missed on so many draft picks. I mean, but he is so good. Like it's unbelievable.
But yeah, absolutely. So Jeff, where can they find you on social media?
You go to Facebook. You can find me at Jeff Needs Sports. You can find me at Jeff Needs Help on Twitter. I'm at jhunt006. Offtheballnetwork.com. Put stories on there. Podcast is labeled on there. All these guys are on there. So it's a great website. It's up and coming. If anybody out there is like interested in doing any writing or anything, but if not, we got a great group. You'll see us all the time. It's pretty cool. And a real quick shout out. I asked Coach if he minded. I want to bring just one last point before we go. I didn't know anything. I didn't really notice this yesterday or anything, but then I saw the story today that yesterday, I believe, 10 black starting quarterbacks in the NFL. And I know that I don't even like saying that, but I'm just, full disclosure, I'm 45 years old. I remember a time when it was considered damn near impossible for a black football player to make it in the NFL at quarterback. I won't get too deep into it, but I know a lot of people are like, I think we're done talking about this, but it is an accomplishment. And I can, for instance, Warren Moon had to go to the Canadian Football League. That's all you need to know about where we were, 40 years ago in football. And so, I don't think it's a little thing that this is happening. And it's not just, black quarterbacks in the NFL. They're starting quarterbacks. They're great quarterbacks. And they've always deserved it. And, it's the time of moving the wide receiver and all this BS is over. So, yeah, you know what I mean? I think it is worth recognizing because I personally know, like, how hard they tried to avoid that for all these years. So, just let these young men play the game, and it's awesome, and it's better for it. So that's all I got for that, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And now you're looking at the success of it, where you got now Patrick Mahomes and Russell Wilson winning Super Bowls, and now
Super Bowl winners. You got MVPs, like it could have, and I'll say it like the last remark when it could have always been that way. As a college football fan, it could have always been this way. Mm-hmm. But you know what? Hopefully we can't go back in the past, man. I wish we could, man. A lot of guys that things could have went the other way.
Yeah, a little bit more opportunities, but yeah, man, it's definitely. But it's the wave now, and definitely those guys are doing their thing in the league, and Bill Polian's around saying, hey, these quarterbacks should be running backs or wide receivers, and
No, never should have went down that way.
For real.
It goes both ways. I mean, Julian Edelman, college quarterback, wide receivers in the last 10 years. It's all right if it's meant to be that way, as long as there's a reason for it, a good reason.
Exactly. So yeah, most definitely appreciate you, Jeff, for hopping on this week's Overreaction Monday. And yeah, we bought the heat today, so it definitely was a great show.
Anytime.
Yes, indeed. And we'll catch you guys next week. This has been Overreaction Monday, Season 2, Episode 1.